Good morning, Alex. How are you doing today?
Fabulous. How you doing, John?
Good. I always feel a little better after the jingle. I don't know. The jingle just gets you going. It's just like one of those. Here's a free Canva jingle, but I like it every time I get on the call.
I feel like I'm on with a proper personality, and I'm just like showing up with my coffee. So
Hey,
that's
but
what I told you.
you have a special cup of coffee here. Let's talk about that. We talked about it behind the channel, or behind the show. But what cup of coffee there do you have?
This is the original ex-Babylon coffee cup. It's rocking on, I don't know, 26, 25 years old, something like that now.
Tell me. So we're gonna jump into your story here in a minute. So I need you to weave in Ex-Babylon into your story. We talked a little bit. We got a little nostalgic behind the scenes here, and we were talking about all sort of fun things. But before we do that, just want to say hello to everybody. I know we got people tuning in from different channels. Drop a hello. Makes it a heck of a lot more fun. If you're in the chat, ask a question for Alex. It's way more fun than my boring script I've got here. I have some plans for our show, but I really think that this is going to be a fun one if people jump in and engage and ask questions, because I think there's this really big unknown that our industry is trying to figure out around this MIP service. What does MIP mean? Let's break down the acronym. Let's get into the reality. Let's get into the operations. Let's get into the services, the real nitty gritty outside of a keynote talk. That's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to level it from 1,000,000 feet down to hopefully like at least 10,000 feet. So if you're drinking a cup of coffee, give us a hello. And if you're tuning in after with our newsletter, always drop a comment in the newsletter. We'll answer questions there as well. So I'm curious, Alex. This is going to be 45 minutes going to evaporate. I'm already aware of that. But I think you have a special place in this topic today because of what you're studying and what you're doing and your past history. And I think that weaves into our conversation. And so I want to hear that. I want to hear the Alex story, and not the I'm standing in an elevator. I got 30 seconds. What do you do? I want to hear, like, why are you now looking at this problem and talking about MIP? And you were out talking at MSP Summit before this. What led you to where we are today? And then we'll jump into the topic.
I've always been, like, literally when I was a kid, like I was a teenager building websites. I was getting paid to build websites. So
that was my first job too, man. I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I had, it was great because I was literally 14 years old when I filed my first business license because I needed a bank account to put money into. And my dad was like, well, let's go fill out the business license. And you can still look it up in the state of Idaho. There's a 14-year-old Alex with his ex-Babylon business license, September 2001, because he was always a serial entrepreneur, like building small businesses. And so he kind of knew the drill, and so there I was. And people didn't mind paying a teenager to build them a website. Like, honestly, I think people won't mind teenagers helping them deploy AI into their small business today.
Ooh, I like that.
I actually think if you're a teenager today and you're like, I'm an applied person, like I want to work on real things, and I'm on the weekends I'm vibe coding video games. Like, go vibe code the next app to help your dad's business or your mom's, whatever. Like, go out into the real world and be like, hey, what are you guys dealing with? And let me do AI for you. Like, that's what I would be doing. That's because this is the best time to be alive, John. Like, it's exactly like back when we were building websites, because you could do something, it had evolved to the point where you were like in scripting language world, right? ASP, PHP, like the LAMP stack was around, like things were like hard, but accessible. And, you could learn from other people. We had our version of Reddit, you had like SitePoint forums and these places where you could just ask a question and people would help you. And you could develop anything and people were willing to pay you. So yeah, that's how I got into this. And then I'd like to think I've been around for all the major epochs. And back then, my dream was to stay a technologist. I wanted a dual major in computer science and business and get my MBA. Like, that was my goal. So when I was applying to colleges, I cared about the best best tech schools for my undergrad. and I cared about the best business school for my MBA, because that was my plan, was to stack those things together. So it ended up not happening, but I always dreamed and knew that I was going to be the guy that bridged technology and business. So here I am.
I want to hear more of your story. I just want to interrupt. Why didn't it happen? Because so far, by the way, Alex, you and I have an eerily similar path. First job was HTML web dev. You threw LampStack. You really got to my heart there. I built a UCAS business on that. And then you said you'd make a school. I'm a college dropout because that's when I started my first company. No way that's your story, right? Like, come on.
I mean, actually, my story is going to be basically, it's going to rhyme. I mean, I was small town USA. I had been building websites for some local companies, and they were paying me, people just kind of knew me through like church, my dad's school, whatever. And then you end up talking to the local ISP owner, right? Who's a burnout hippie from the Bay Area who moved to the middle of nowhere to start an ISP, right? So he's got like stacks of dial-up rack. He figured out how to get a fiber line to North Idaho, all these things, and you get to know him, and he's like referring people to you who want websites. So that was like, the early networking world. And then one day he literally, I come in his office and he's like, Alex, get in here. I was 16, dude, 16 years old. And he was like, he put down he had a can of Spam sitting on his desk, and he slammed it on his desk. He's like, this is the biggest problem on the internet. He's like, it's crushing ISP servers everywhere, because everybody had an email address at their ISP. This is like circa 2002, right? 2001, 2002. And so he goes, he's like, we're going to fix it. He's like, I want you to come back to me with your idea and your solution of how we're going to fix this, right? And so I came back, and he told me what his plan was, and we built a hosted. So I worked after school, weekends, all summer. Mm-hmm. He was paying me. Then it became a real company. He got a few investors. I had equity. Graduated high school, went full-time. By then we had 4 people working full-time. Literally, imagine a 17-year-old graduating high school with 4 full-time employees, and I'm program managing.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. So anyway, they all put up with me, and they were great human beings. I learned so much from all of them, many of them with a lot more experience than me, but I had this new world experience. I knew how. I was like, we're going to build the app on HTML. It's all going to be web-based. I knew we built a hosted cluster, and we rerouted people's MX records to us, for those that are technical on the call. And we were hosting and filtering millions of emails a day for ISPs all over the country. And, it was fun. And we built anti-spam, and I learned everything there was to know about email protocols and DNS, everything, including how to scale Postgres clusters back in 2003. So
I don't want to make this a whole nostalgia show. We're at 9 minutes in. I want to jump into some of this, but like very similar. Mine was a UCAS company, though. We were Unified Communications.
So cool.
Instead of MX records, we were wire sharking T38 and digging into PCAPs to figure everything that was going on. So.
Dude, I didn't learn any of that until much later in life.
I was just say that's a blast to the past, isn't it? There.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, man. These stories, but that's what led us here. These stories have led us here. And, you made a statement. You said, I've been through every epoch. I made a statement at IT Nation Connect. I said, this is the first time I get to lead an epoch. I've been through a lot of epochs. I missed a few.
You can't say every epoch. I would say every modern epoch. Everything every post initial internet epoch.
Yeah. I got a decade. I missed a decade on you, Alex. And so I missed one or two. But from my perspective, this is one of the biggest epochs. You used the term, it's one of the best times to be alive. I keep saying it's a golden era.
Yeah.
I want to dig into that and what that means beyond the framing and beyond the, keynotes, as I said, as we jumped into here. So I want to get started with just some baseline definitions for people who maybe weren't at Beyond last year or haven't been reading blogs since then. Let's talk about MIP. Let's talk about that term. And what is your definition? Because what I've learned over the last about year is everybody has their own definition of MIP.
Oh, man. Okay. So I mean this with a ton of respect to the group at Pax8, and I'll also say the group at IT by Design. So you've got people I really care about and I really respect deeply at both organizations that have latched onto MIP. And I know it's important to call something, right? Yeah. I fear that the MIP acronym is a way to package what a vendor wants their customer to become so they can sell them the things they want to sell them. Not that it's unimportant. Okay. I'm really torn on this because I actually don't think MSPs need a new identity. I actually don't believe that's right, to be honest with you. But I've always believed, and I have it on my LinkedIn, like a speech from 4 years ago. I did a whole tour doing the modern MSP and talking about what the MSP 4.0 industry meant and what it meant to be a modern MSP, which meant you had to be a business consultant, you had to lead, and the video's up and anyone could watch it. But it's the same thing they're saying. It's like, you have to lean into your customer. You have to be able to understand what your customer really does, and you have to apply IT solutions around that. But I mean, come on, like professional IT solutions. Yeah. For 25 years, we've been IT solutions companies. We weren't an MSP. We were an IT solutions company, a technology solutions company, someone who led our customers through dark and scary waters, through ransomware, through cybersecurity, through compliance, through how their data came out of file cabinets and into a server under the stairs in the basement. I mean, we did this every time. We were just, what's the problem you're facing? How do we help you apply technology to it? I don't know that we have to rebrand to do that. If it helps organizations to do that and helps people to align, maybe that's important. But I think that's all an MIP intent is how do we kind of go back to those basics?
I'm with you, Alex. I think, and I love your, with all due respect, because I say it every time I say this next statement too, with all due respect to the MIP framing, it's, I don't look at MIP as a transition. And I think that's where a lot of people get in their head. They go, I'm an MSP and I'm going to transition to an MIP. No. They see it as a progress tracker.
I don't.
In my mind, MIP is just a line of business.
That's right. Yes.
It's just an LOB. It's a center of excellence. It's whatever you want to call it. Like it's not a transformation more so than a new service offering.
Yeah. I mean, really, because your customers, I mean, they still are coming to you buying, I mean, milkshake theory, Clay Christensen, not to interrupt, but like there's a job to be done. And honestly, our customers don't even know what that AI job is yet. And we don't really know what it is. And by the way, nobody really knows what it is. So we're all kind of figuring out together, which is why it's the best time to be alive, because, whatever. But we still have to do all the fundamentals. Now, some of this has become, I've been in trouble for saying this with some vendors before, but I mean, it's become commoditized. Some of it should be commoditized. We should be excellent at patching. Okay. That should be like excellence. Yeah. We should be excellent at core cybersecurity offerings. We should be excellent at, having a red carpet. Wow, it is early. Red carpet, white glove experience.
I've got the coffee here.
Every layer of our customers, right? All MIP is getting back to the roots of how most MSPs, when you talk to founders, which I did in my second era life, right? Doing the acquisition side and the buy side, and you're talking to founders, you meet these amazing humans who know everything about their customers. And they've built companies where they had to transition out of bespoke offerings, out of like deep understanding of their customer. And then they had to transition into operationalized systems. They had to transition into playbooks. They had to transition into standard operations. They had to get really good at running the machine. And now I think we kind of have to be like, okay, now we got to walk and chew gum, because we got really good at doing everything really consistent, really low cost, really high outcomes. Now we have to like keep doing that and add this new thing.
Yeah. Yeah. In my mind, I always explain it as like, I say it's like the galaxy. IT support is like the galaxy. It's always ever expanding. It never collapses, right? Like the printers still break and I have to have agentic AI. Like it's like these things don't go away.
That's a great way of putting it, man. We kind of have to keep adding it in, but we don't really get to shed too much out the back door.
Not really. Some of this stuff that troubled us 15 years ago when I was at my ITSP, previously before an MSP, before we transitioned to an MSP, they still happen today, man. Like those APs still go down. The printers still get jammed. Like we just, unfortunately, they don't go away. But that's where I think this complexity comes in, because it's just like, it is an ever growing thing. I do agree with you on the commoditization. It is of my belief that, for the last 5 years, we have always had good, better, best, and good being like this co-managed thing, better being fully managed, and best being fully managed IT plus cyber. I think all that's going to get shoved to the left. And I think good's going to be managed IT, better is going to be managed IT plus cyber, and best is going to be managed IT plus cyber plus AI. Like that. That's all that's changing. It's a good, new, good, better, best. And you're automating a lot of the thing on the left.
And if I could, that thing in the middle if there's any MSPs listening here, I have a deep belief. Okay. I'm not running an MSP today, but if I was running an MSP today, I would absolutely keep my team focused on the better piece that you just said, because that's the plus cyber. And there's a lot of MSPs here that are like, oh, I do cyber. Of course we do cyber. We're great at cyber. And then my counter would be, but have you deeply monetized that? Because in the rooms I'm in, the conferences, when I talk, when I work with these MSPs, when I talk to vendors about what they're selling in the vendor stack and their uplift cross-sell issues in cyber, MSPs still have a massive, huge monetization capability around GRC and like governance, risk, compliance, and plus cyber. Like there's more money in that for the next 3 years than AI, full stop.
For sure. I think that's the thing that I like, that uncomfortable truth that you said it, because I'm with you. Like we're line. Like, yes, there's a lot to be made in AI, but there is a lot to be made. And fundamentally, if we look at it, unfortunately, the galaxy analogy doesn't support us here, but now we're going to have to go to a triangle analogy. Like IT is that base, cyber's that next rung up, and then you can do AI. You can't like just skip one of those rungs responsibly. Let me rephrase it that way. You can skip them, but you can't skip them responsibly.
Yeah. And I think just like in cyber, I think AI, and you know this, I think AI is going to have a lot of things are going to shake out. It's going to become an eclectic. There's going to be a couple of models of how people go do AI, right? Whatever that looks like.
Yep.
And in the same way that the industry kind of added cyber and still is adding cybersecurity services and offerings and learning how to deal with compliance. And by the way, this is where, when it comes to the jobs to be done, customers want AI, but they don't know what they need. So you have to provide some thought leadership, and you have to kind of make sure you're talking to your customers about AI. You have to make sure they know that you're not ignoring it. You're not the department of no, but they really want to buy. Like they're like begging providers for compliance leadership, for GRC, for cyber solutions, to help them navigate that world, right? To start to not say, oh, we don't know anything about cyber risk insurance. That's on your CFO and your insurance broker. It's like, is it like, or like, because that's the job to be done. I think that's the place where MSPs are the biggest threat and the biggest opportunity, like tomorrow with their customers. And then all you have to do with AI is what we did with cyber, 10, 15 years ago, where you were like in the QBR, whatever you want to call it. I hate that word, but I mean, in your acronym, in that meeting, you're just saying, hey guys, we're thinking about this. We're paying attention to it. We have some really advanced solutions on the horizon around the cyber thing. We're just letting you know that if you want to explore that, we're here with you. We're not bringing you anything until we have a chance to better understand what's happening out there. So we're educating ourselves. We're going to be there to support you through it. If it's keeping you up at night, we're here to lean in with you, but we're not going to try to hard sell you anything right now.
Yeah.
Like all you have to do is say that and to a leadership team at a business, and they're like, we get it, because they know what it means to run a business in new tech. So you say that about AI and then come back to, but we still have to do this whole GRC cyber thing, because by the way, if you're going to implement AI solutions beyond a chatbot, you're going to probably have to have some governance in place anyway. So why don't we keep doing the roadmap we already have you on, and then we'll keep adding in intelligence as we get there. Like, then you buy yourself some runway, you buy your customers some time, you keep them focused on the here and now. That's what they want to hear anyway. That's my thought.
No, I like it. And quite frankly, I think this real conversation, again, out of that 10,000 foot view, is that if you don't have your fundamentals ready, you're not ready to jump in and design and implement AI at scale. And quite frankly, it's all kind of in a thrashing space. So I love that we grounded before we went into it, but I do want to walk into a bit of the—
Good. I was just going to say, now we have to actually talk about—
now that we've covered all of our caveats, that if you're not ready, you're not ready. Let's talk about it if you're ready. Let's jump into that MSP that does have excellent cyber hygiene practice. They have most of their customers on standardized cyber, and they're ready to look at the next big thing they bring to their customers. It's obvious AI, right? Like, I don't see any other option, right?
No,
like,
I mean,
unless you do.
No, you have
on
to.
My mind here.
I don't think there's a single MSP, by the way, that can ignore the conversation at all.
Yeah.
You have to walk and chew gum on this.
Yeah.
And it's a massive opportunity for MSPs of all size to get involved. And if you're not talking to your customers right now, then you're going to listen to this and you're going to spend the next 36 hours locked away with your favorite AI team and your executive team, and you're going to come out with a plan to go talk to your customers.
You need to. Yeah. Like, you don't have to sell them anything. You do need to have the conversation. I did this prediction and at the beginning of the year, and I said the number one KPI that people aren't paying attention to is silence. And I made the point: if your customer's not asking you about AI, you need to fix that this year. You don't need
table over here. Agreeing. Counting table.
Anything. Just don't sell them shit. I don't think LinkedIn likes that I said that, but don't sell them anything. Like, just keep it simple.
That's literally you could sum up the whole AI transformation workshop that I did last week with Len at MSP Summit. Almost 2 hours of conversations, and you could sum the whole thing up basically with that.
Yeah. And I like that that's a grounding position, but I do, again, want to jump into, like, okay, beyond the conversation.
Yeah.
All right. Now we know we're having conversations. You're out there last couple of weeks in the summit. Like, what are you seeing? Like, what's working, what's not working? Like, where do you feel like there's opportunity that's repeatable, or where do you feel like there's opportunity?
Yeah.
I'm not even focus on repeatable right now, because I think that's where a lot of the struggle comes in. We'll jump into that topic. What do you feel like is monetizable?
So I think it's a barbell of what's monetizable right now. And I'm like, I'm very deep in some of the tech on this. I'm pretty, like, I don't want to sidestep like the real deep work on this, that I was last night at Gonzaga University launching a whole AI initiative in collaboration with them. I'll be there as soon as I leave this. I'm to the Gonzaga University AI and Ethics Conference, where we're, talking about the next program there for mid-market and what's happening. So I'm deep in it. I believe in like all the really advanced stuff we can do. So that's my caveat. The opportunity right now is a barbell. It's really have a solution for your customers in glorified chatbot and, in quote unquote agents, but really you're talking like an agent is really building a Copilot Studio agent that is a pre-prompt MD for meeting notes, a meeting note and analyzer.
Yeah, I know.
That's it.
I know.
I work, my wife works for a Fortune 100 household name. And look, that's their agents don't look much sexier than that, and that's okay, because there's so much data. I was with MIT at the MIT Media Lab, Imagination in Action, right before I was in Vegas, working with the Foundation for Agentic Networks, where we heard from Stanford HAI, the Human Centered AI Center in Stanford, heard from all the big labs. Everybody was there. And the general through line there, which is external to the MSP market, if you look at the graphs, by the way, it's now public. Stanford HAI released their study that I saw it, I got to see it preprint. Now it's out. If you go look at it, there's a slide in there that shows enterprise AI adoption over the quarters. And then it shows enterprise agent adoption. It's a straight line, buddy. It's like 5% of organizations have deeply deployed agents in their critical workflows. All that gain is chatbots. So simple.
I know. How do we yell it louder?
And I don't mean customer chatbots. I don't mean customer facing. I don't mean replace the tier 1 help desk. I don't mean any of that. I mean helping your customers churn on Copilot. By the way, I actually think this is like the simplified version. Like, don't go buy a third-party skin. I walked MSP Summit and I saw all of these vendors selling all of these tools where they're man in the middle of all the models, and they're giving you they're the Swiss Army knife. I'm a Microsoft guy. I built my company by just being like, good enough's good enough for most of my customers.
Yeah.
I think most MSPs are going to succeed by, drinking the Microsoft Kool-Aid, as much as I wish I could recommend another option right now. I think it helps your customers. No one gets fired for, deploying a Copilot agent. It's sustainable.
I have the unsexy side of AI is written down as because I like to take my notes. So when I do my write up, I can remember things. I actually write things down, very old school of me in the AI era. I know it's being transcribed. But I'm with you, man. Like, we are in lockstep on this one. Like, there is this like panacea. Everybody thinks that, agentic AI will solve all of the world's problems for all of their SMBs. And I know I've talked about this before with you. Like, it's really just custom software development with like a nice little shiny veneer in a lot of cases. It is my argument that in 1, 2, 3 years, we're going to find ourselves in a position where all of these custom software development vibe codey things we just built for our customers are native to the way that AI work anyway. Like, we didn't need to build custom scaffolding to make that happen. We just needed to wait for it to actually become GA.
1,000%. By the way, the Frontier Labs, like when you're in the room and you hear an Anthropic distinguished researcher at the MIT Media Lab be like, hey, everybody here, the like 300 of us that are in the room, just build for where you think. Just imagine what we've done in the last year and make sure you're building for what's going to be a year, for like what's coming. Like,
Yeah, because everybody's building like it's not going to innovate and solve the problems that they're trying to. This is what kills me, is I feel like as an industry, we've decided we're just going to become like SaaS companies, I suppose, or MSP or just custom software companies, because we're just like filling the gaps.
It's very temporary. It's very temporary. Now, look, you actually asked how MSPs can monetize, and I said it was barbell. I will say the other side of that barbell, besides like turning on Copilot and connecting like the most basic things and giving your people like 2 or 3 agents that are the most boring pre-prompts in the world. The other thing is you have MSPs making 6-digit project revenue on actually vibe coding up like custom apps for their customers. This is not unlike, I was a big fan of DevOps, and I used to preach to MSPs that were mature and big, that you need to build a DevOps team. This is like pre-AI being everything. And you need to start like building on the low code, no code, SharePoint, Power Apps, all of that. Like, I was a big fan of that. By the way, no MSPs really did that. But a few would come up to me a year later at a conference, be like, Alex, I hired like 2 DevOps guys and my God, we're crushing it. Right. Yeah. So that happened a couple of times, but it wasn't like, it wasn't universal. And in the same way, there are a few MSPs today that are out there vibe coding, deploying projects on top of Vercel and giving their customers value and helping them. Now, I think that's like the modern version of like when you had that one engineer in the back that built an access database that solved all your customer problems, but then he left and then there was an access database they used for 2 years and nobody knew about it.
You mean
and
when
then
we
one
were
had to support it.
You mean when we were ASPs like a decade and a half ago? Is that what you're talking about right
Exactly.
now?
So they are monetizing these things. I think any MSP that does that has to track them like viciously. You have to be like, who's doing this? Where is it being done? It has to be on a tracker, and somebody has to pay attention to these monthly forever.
It's SDLC is what it is, and people don't realize it. It's software development life cycle, and it's like you get this panacea. The thing is, like, don't get me wrong. I use Claude Code. I've used Lovable. I've used Barcel. I've used them all. The serotonin is insane when you're building with these things. But like, then you take the like tarp off of the cover, and it's like, holy crap, what is this thing down here?
Wait, Sam, do you have a background in building critical infrastructure, enterprise SaaS or something?
Yes, I do. It drives me nuts when I look at it. But here's the thing: you get this like serotonin hit that it's like, oh my god, this thing is like crazy. And then like you go deploy this in your customer's environment, and the model change. Not the model shouldn't change if you built it right, but maybe the model does change on you because you didn't build it right, or the model iterates so much further that your token consumption could be like. It is custom software development, and it's where it's just like I struggle because I want us to be able to support our customers, but I have this deep-seated fear, and I haven't seen it come to reality, and so I haven't talked about it a lot. But one of my most deep-seated fears is that MSPs are actually going to lose customer relationships by coming in and doing this BPO and breaking a critical business process, and now. This revenue you've earned for a decade, you went in and you sold them some agent that all of a sudden looked great and it worked for the first couple of weeks and then starts hallucinating and you can't figure it out. You've burnt this relationship over a custom software project.
Yeah, I think you can mitigate that, but I don't think you can mitigate it if you're clinging to that 6-digit
that's
project revenue. So I think you have to design my philosophy on that. I'm going to go back to being a teenager building websites. Right? When we were building things for customers and we didn't know what we were doing, what did we do? We did like R&D cost share. We said, look, I've never done this before.
Yeah.
But I'm going to learn on you, which means you need to understand that. And as a reciprocity, it's going to be like lower up front and more if it solves the problem you want, right? Over time.
Yeah.
And I think that's where MSPs, and by the way, if it doesn't work, I think MSPs need to be willing to be like, hey, it was R&D, it's on us. Here's your 120 grand back. We appreciate you as a customer. And if you are not willing to do that, then you should not be doing those types of things.
But therein lies my point, right? I think that is a very mature, thoughtful, SDLC driven understanding of what you're building, path. And I'm not saying that all of us in the industry don't have the way to get there. I just don't think we're all there yet because we're not software developers. We've just become them in the last year or two because all of a sudden we can vibe code. End stump speech. But I do just believe there's this risk of breaking operations. Now, you go in and you break an actual workflow that was critical to their business because some AI hallucinated. Now, I say that if you are not being sophisticated. I don't mean that is an end-all be-all statement. I mean, if you are tested and you have a DevOps team and you have an SDLC around this thing and you have a support cycle and you are looking at the software and you're managing vulnerabilities and you are managing pen testing and you are managing all the like best practices around agentic interactions and you're doing it right, there is a heck of a lot of money. And I think the businesses that are building those today are the real gold winners in this whole rush. I just caution that is a level of sophistication that takes decades to understand of real process engineering.
I think it's. You have to start with the fundamentals. I do believe the lead dev. I just retweeted it, X'd it, whatever we're saying now. Anthropic gave a master conversation about what I'm hearing in the rooms in like on the coasts, right? When I get into those spaces, which is, I think we are going to disintermediate the code base at some point. I think we're headed there. But I think certain things don't change, which is understand, like if you don't know Git, if you're whoever's in charge of this, if I can't hand them a whiteboard and an explo marker and say, explain to me how Azure DevOps works.
Yeah.
And they can't like tell me.
Yeah. I mean, the only
not coding, tell me how governance works around these things.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't tell me that. I think that becomes part of the problem.
Well, yeah, I have a firm belief. We're going to pivot into MSP here because we've gone down a rabbit hole. I really enjoyed this rabbit hole too. Obviously, I have opinions, and I think we're fairly like locked in on alignment on some of them too. But like, I really believe the top two roles in the future are DevOps and product. Everything else doesn't matter at this point. Like, give it 2 years, and like most.
Or that you're talking about the service piece. Like, if you look at the silos of an MSP service stack, that's the kind of intelligence service stack.
Yeah. All right. We have gone. Let's crawl out. We are like 1,000 feet deep. But hey, I don't know. I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope you have, Alex. Let's jump back into the MSP. Let's like apply a lot of what we just talked about with the MSP. So, we talked about the two opportunities: the boring, the unsexy is what I wrote down. We talked about this like real high opportunity of revenue if you do it right, and responsibly. We talked about that. So let's talk about some of the gaps. Like, what are you seeing and when the rubber really hits the road right now within delivery of AI down to the customer? Like, what are some of those gaps that need to be filled, whether it's a gap that a service provider can fill, a gap that we think AI technology might end up filling?
Can I answer that without answering it?
Of course, this is what the whole show is about. We're just having a cup of coffee, man.
Well, I think MSPs typically, so take out the large platforms for a minute, and I think any MSP leader listening to this would be able to kind of do this in their head with their own customers. I think the most important thing is your clients. You really do. But like that book, Thinking Fast and Slow, that we all had to read at some point, like, I think you have to think very slowly about this, because the typical approach that smart people have to which customer to talk to and what services to work at which customer is typically wrong, is what I'm finding. So a big part of the workshop last week is I talked about client segmentation. And I think it's really critical that the first thing an MSP does is segment their customer base. And I'll post it in the comments, like a slide on this, like a screenshot. But basically, I think everybody needs to have 4 buckets, and that's Alex making that up, pick your own. Yeah. But it's basically like, I'm going to talk to my customer about it, to I'm going to like lean in all the way and start developing with my customer on the other side, right? To something in the middle, which is what we just kind of talked about. But I think every MSP needs to intentionally put all of their customers right now in a bucket before they do anything. And they need to understand and make a decision based on a number of factors which customers belong in which bucket as they think about offering this. Yeah. Before you do anything. And then in order to keep your head on straight and not have a million bespoke crazy situations, every employee, every leader should be able to just literally say, that's a bucket 1 AI or a class A AI customer. That's a class D AI customer. And people can move between those. And your assumptions and your initial, decisions can change, but you need to pre-print that before you talk to your customers, because the customer that you think is the most important for AI is the one that has the biggest MRR for you.
Yeah.
That's what most people do. And it's not the case. It's the customer that has a smaller MRR, maybe a smaller group of people, but they're going to be much more willing to innovate. They can benefit much greater from doing this. They have the right leadership at the table. It doesn't have as big a number attached to it, maybe to begin with. But again, everybody's figuring this out for the first time globally. Nobody's ahead of you. I can say that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important thing. And then I think then certain things become obvious of where those gaps are. And the reason for that, John, is I think a lot of innovation around AI is going to come from the line of business applications. Yeah. Because in the same way that MSPs are waiting for ConnectWise, Kaseya, Enable, Ninja, fill in the blank to come to them with the, hey, we did this.
Here's your AI answer.
By the way, all your customers are doing the same thing. Their Autodesk is coming to them with solutions. Adobe's coming to them with solutions. Their ERP platform's coming to them with solutions. And they're going to be much more inclined to use those off-the-shelf solutions. So overbuilding those is a mistake, I think.
Yeah.
Where instead you have to kind of map all that with your customer, and then you have to fill in those gaps between.
Yeah, and I think the through line of all this is we're going to have innovation. We just need to be there to support our customer throughout the innovation, and it's the blind leading the blind, is what Spencer says a lot. Like, it's not like we are eons. I think that's a lot of where this like problems come in right now. Is I think a lot of people are in this belief system that the world is moving past them at a breakneck speed. And I think that that's like one of the uncomfortable truths around AI. And nobody at Anthropic's going to say, oh, no, that's not. It's a little slower than what you think. And nobody in the media is going to say that. Like, but I think when you get down to like the brass tacks, like, look, I have sat down with 30-person construction firm, a 20-person uniform company. Like, when I talk to these people, the real like SMBs that are MSP support, they're not sitting here telling me about the 30 different AI tools they tried. They're like, I tried ChatGPT last month. It was cool. Like, I didn't get much out of it. I don't know how to like do it. Like, they're not looking, I think, for this level of transformation that the industry is maybe saying. And I think maybe that's just a bucket, right? That's bucket A. And as you said earlier, and there is a bucket D that is looking for this transformation. And I think it's a tactical exercise to look at because not everybody's looking for the same stuff, but you do need to be that blind leading the blind is kind of my perspective on this problem.
Yeah. I mean, imagination and action, end of the day, after hearing from the best of the brightest and the smartest building these things, top floor of Acme's building in Cambridge, looking out over, Boston, takeaway, early innings.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
early innings, man.
And that's, I like that as a grounding reality. It's what I try to bring to the table in a lot of conversations is like, there's this fear and this FUD to move fast because you believe the whole industry and the whole world's moving faster past you. And I just think like, it's not that real. Like it's just, and also,
can I also say though, if you're listening to this and you haven't locked yourself away and vibe coded an app, if you aren't being aggressive about learning these things and forcing your team to learn it and I don't believe you have to transform your MSP before you talk to your customers. I think you should bifurcate those conversations completely. Yep. But I mean, like, this is the biggest change. This is not like cloud where you have 10 years to think about it. This is coming. This is coming.
You have 4 or 5 tops of the transformation being done, by the way. Not like you have 4 or 5 years to think about it. Like you gotta like.
Yeah, this is a 5 year. I agree. I actually think that's not an unreasonable number, man. I think 5 years from now, there'll be stuff around the edges to scrape out. But I think there's going to be a lot of innovation. And those that are just staying curious, staying plugged in, listening to this, hearing and bullshitting with us on what's happening, I think that's half the battle. It's just not ignoring what's going on and listening to everyone and just staying curious.
In StreamYard, I need a button that I can click. People that have followed the show along for a while know the word curious gets a special place in my heart. I align. I'll come back to that in a second, but I align with you. I think one of the bylines of all this story is stay educated. Almost every coffee chat comes into stay educated. But your episode like 52 or 53, by the way, Alex, of coffee chat so far. Very interestingly, I have done an episode every single week since MSP GeekCon last year. And we'll be doing it at my 56th, my 1-year anniversary at GeekCon this year. And I keynote about curiosity. And I analyzed, you'll love this. I analyzed of the 52, or I think I did the analysis like a month ago, of the like 48 shows at that time. The word curiosity, learn, or educate came up in almost every like 98 shows. And so, Leslie, we are in alignment with Alex here. Like, either adapt now or get left behind. It's about the learning that needs to happen. Joe, sorry, you got me on a very happy moment because you've just upped my number. I think we're like 96%. We'll stay at 90. Maybe this moves us to 97%. But that's what it is. And I think it helps you like cut the noise a little bit. If you just stay curious, if you just stay learning, it just helps you feel a little more comfortable in realizing. Because I think a lot of people vibe code, and how many of those vibe codes come to reality? I also want to throw like one other injection here, and then I want to have you, of course, jump back on. You're the guest, not me.
No, I want to hear. We want to hear from you too, John.
Of those vibe, I don't know the number, but I'd be curious to know it. Like, how many of those vibe coded apps make production? My guess is like 1%, if not less. Like, a lot of people just do it and experiment, which is great because you need to learn it. Another number that I think is super interesting is like only like 20% of the Gen AI rollouts that happened last year were successful and actually drove demonstrable gains. That's a really important like signal in my head.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're seeing a lot of gain. I think measurability is challenging.
Let me reframe it though. Like, I think, the 20% that rolled out got demonstrable gains, right? Like the ones that nailed it got demonstrable gains. Like Microsoft has the data. I'm a big Microsoft guy too now on this one, but like Microsoft has the data, 9 hours per employee per month. 26 minutes a day of productivity gains. That's real and worth, I don't know what a Copilot license is, $30 nowadays, or whatever special they're running now. I think it's 22. But that is attainable at scale. It's just not implemented correctly at scale. There are a myriad of things to do it right, and there are a myriad of things to do it wrong. And I think that that's where the opportunity comes in the sense that like I can turn on a Copilot license, I can harden Copilot, I can drop SharePoint across to everything. Like I can do whatever I want there. But when it comes to the change, there's ways to do it right, and there's ways to do it wrong, and there's a lot of opportunity to make it happen right.
Absolutely, and I think it's a different muscle for MSPs, and I think that when you start segmenting your customers, I think you find customers that fall into I think, who knows, like my ego would be very happy if 5 years from now, Alex's AI segmentation thing becomes the blueprint for what worked, right?
I think it's really smart though. I haven't heard it on the show and I haven't heard it elsewhere. And I think it's a really tactical way to do it because sorry to interrupt, but
you're fine.
I just hyped up about it because what you're doing is it's not like, by the way, and you'll admit this, you didn't just create something that's novel or never heard of. You just brought a very pragmatic practice that every company in the world has done for eons about ICP mapping and ideal, like customer segmentation. You just brought it to a grounded reality in the problem we're facing.
Yeah, but people will say, example, healthcare client, 6 doctors, 50 employees, 2 locations. Good, and billing 15 grand a month MRR. Good account for AI?
Probably not. Maybe. Yeah. Depends on a lot of factors, by the way.
Exactly. That's an operator. So many people are like that. They're out there saying it from the stage. This is go after this, company. And here's the thing. You know what they really need? They need to wait because Athena Health is their EMR / their billing department / their everything. Their whole company runs on Athena. Your only job is like to support headless HTML workstations that connect to it, a few scanners and a couple of printers. They have an outsourced accounting platform and company, and there's like Microsoft Office on their computers, and they store everything in SharePoint. Like that's not a big AI opportunity because Athena is going to show up with their AI agent tooling
wrapped
around their data that they already control, and that customer's not fun, right? From an AI perspective, aside from like the first bucket, which is making sure you're enabling them with Copilot and all the things they need.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Whatever you're doing. By the way, if you're an Anthropic shop, if you're an OpenAI partner and you're running like Anthropic or OpenAI teams, and you're out there building real enclaves and supporting your customers and their own tenant in those, great. If you're bespoke custom vibing or working with one of these skin wrappers and doing API token billing, and it's an external platform, dude, get ready for a surprise because all of these apps, no one is ready for what happens when tokens start billing at the actual token price points. Nobody in the entire AI industry is ready for this.
Trust me, I don't want to get a stump speech. I'll just echo that. Like, I would hate to be the one making the call to all the MSPs, then making the downstream calls to say, hey, like everything tripled. Especially, you know what? Actually, I'm going to defend it just for a minute, just to play devil's advocate to myself, because I want to argue with you a little bit on the show. Not argue, but like, sharpen. Say tokens 5x.
Yep.
Okay. If tokens 5x for me, I don't really care. Like, I'm not happy to pay the bill, but I still get 5x value out of what I'm paying today. If you just flopped a tool over that wasn't actually creating value and wasn't actually being adopted and wasn't in streamlined workflows and wasn't creating ROI, that 5x token hurts. And I think that's where it boils down to, is like, I agree that token economics is a really scary thing to be selling downstream to your customers because you have no control of it. What you do control is the value created out of the tokens.
Yes.
And that is where I think the real opportunity comes in, is like, if they 10x the price, that's a good barometer. If they 10x the price on tokens today of what I'm selling my customer, will my customer still be able to pay for it? And think about building a practice that supports yes to that answer, not just I need to give them an AI wrapper type tool.
Yeah, and that comes up with all kinds of just don't be lulled into thinking that you can today it's only costing $50 a month to run, on average, to run this on this API account. So therefore I can charge a customer $100 a month, make 100% margin, and everything is great. Like, I think and I use that as a bad example, but you're seeing this type of thing happen. And I think just like we learned gigabytes and, we learned minutes on cell phones, we learned gigabytes on storage plans and data and backup. Everybody's going to understand token economics. And I think we're going to have to do the same thing that we had to do with every other unit of measurement of value, or of, whatever you want to call it in the technology world. And again, that's the thing, is like helping your customer understand, hey, this could 10x tomorrow. It really could. Like, I don't have any control over that. So let's make sure that we're both on the same page with what that could mean to you. Right. That's all.
Back to your statement earlier, there's advanced things coming on the horizon. It is your job to navigate that horizon and be there for them and be that SME.
Yeah.
Alex, this could have been like a 3-hour show, man. And we didn't even get like it. Like, I feel like we did get really deep on some really core topics. So I enjoyed a lot of the conversation. I think, Leslie had some good points, and I know we saw some YouTube stuff I can't pull it, but like, I think we got some great topics. I think this, though, as a summary, is a really good point. There are a lot of deep rabbit holes, and there are a lot of deep topics, and you need to get into a little bit of all of them so that you can understand what's coming into the horizon, so that you can navigate your customer through it. And that is the byline on this whole show so far that we've had today, is like, there will be change. This is the only thing I think we can bet on between now and next year.
And there'll be change. And I think we already said it, like, I'm keynoting an aerospace conference, not anything else, but there's curiosity as one of my opening slides. It's in the first 5 minutes, so I think that I could boil that back, and we probably went on so many rabbit trails. Maybe we confused some of our audience. So hopefully you're able to, bring this back to something valuable for people.
Yeah, Alex, I do. So before we sign off, I always try to bring us through the bylines. Like, what are the things we said? Also, I write up, and that's where, we try to bring the best nuggets of what you take into your next week.
Great job.
And what to do today. But that's all that really matters. In a summary, I'll walk us through what I wrote down here that I think are the most important things to walk away with. So fundamentally, Alex and I have very kindred spirits, kindred stories. We both came from 14-year-old building websites. We started in MSP. We've been in this industry. He's got a couple epochs on me, but very similar journey. And I think that the bylines through all these journey is, at the front of every one of these epochs, there was this storming phase. This is not unique. I think I want to remind people that this is not a unique phase. It feels overwhelming, but it felt overwhelming when we had cloud. It felt overwhelming when we had cyber. It felt overwhelming when we went for break fix. It felt overwhelming because there was unknown. And the unknown is what I think terrifies a lot of us as we go through it. But what we do know, as Alex got into it, we always navigated these. And how do we navigate these? By focusing on not changing our identity overwhelming, just being there to deliver the jobs to be done. We don't need to come in and create new jobs for ourselves. We just need to do the jobs that our customers need for us. And to identify those jobs that our customers need for us, Alex provided a really good tactical example. Take your customers and segment them, understand their industry, understand their size, understand their line of business software, understand their age of company and their innovation tolerance. Like bucket those customers into an A, B, C, D, four-square triangle, or four-square triangle, that's a new one. Four-square plot. I have a triangle analogy coming up, but a four-square plot, and identify what you might offer to each of those. And it may not be the same, and I know that's uncomfortable, but it's the best way to serve your customers. We also said you can't be the department of no. And the best way right now to be not be the department of no is by being curious and by learning and staying on top of topics. So when they say, I want to do X, you don't say no, you say, we'll get you there and it's going to look like this. And that is a different story. And that's what your customer wants to hear. They don't want to hear you telling them that you can't help them get these panacea gains out of AI. On the monetization track, we talked on the barbell curve. We talked about on the left side, there's a lot of money to be made, even with some of the simplest, unsexy stuff. Just really simple Gen AI rollouts, a couple little pre-prompt files, a couple little pre-prompt agents, really the bare necessities for your clients in one little square bucket. But we also talked about the fact that there's another side of the barbell curve where there are deep agentic opportunities. They might have custom line of business software or custom line of business flows that are unique to the way that they work. There's a lot of good AI use cases there, but be careful. It's software development, and make sure you know what you're getting into by doing
it's not just software development. I will say it's process change management. It's business consulting. You got to get in there and work with the org chart. Like it's probably 10% of your customers, I think, that's my current thesis, maybe 20, but it's going to be the hardest, right?
But it's also the most monetizable. And you beat me to something I was going to say, Alex. It is org change, not tech change. I will say if you don't have that practice ingrained, I would A, start learning it, or B, lean into partnerships. I really think there's opportunities for partners out there to lean and do what we've always done as MSPs and find somebody that we can pull in, we can trust to help deliver some of the other side of the barbell curve. Well, I think for us, maybe we can focus on the left side of that curve with the simple pre-prompt, the simple out-of-the-box solutions, and just being a little bit of a navigator. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity here. And finally, I think as we wrapped up the show, we talked about curiosity. I rabbit hole that one all the time. That's my fault, but I think it is a byline for this whole thing. We've talked about monetization. We've talked about segmentation, not being the department of no, doing what we've always done with the jobs to be done. But the only way we do all of that is if we stay curious and we stay topical. So that's right. Did I pull us through? I know we rabbit holed, but I think I pulled us through on some good takeaways there, Alex.
I think so. Yeah. I have a tip for anybody that does a QBR, and I'm going to say QBR. I know you have to run on time.
No, we're good.
The tip is this. When we had a lot of success in selling through cyber and not losing customers through the journey from antivirus to EDR to MDR to SIEM/SOC, right? That whole thing. By literally sitting customers down and saying, I know you're probably not ready to cut a X number $1,000 a month additional check, but I just want to let you know what is available for really advanced cyber. Like I found that to be something you could just rinse and repeat and have it in front of them to show them what the cost would be to kind of deploy advanced. This is back when we were like antivirus world, right?
Yeah.
And it just takes your leadership team. So then later when they hear something, they don't say they never gave me the opportunity. So that means like going to your customers now and saying, hey, we have a Copilot offering available from Microsoft. Here's what they're doing. We're not trying to hard sell you on it. I just want to let you know what it would cost to roll this out to your whole organization. So we're going to keep talking about this and learning every quarter. We're going to keep telling you about it. We just want to make sure you know what those options are, or roll out, OpenAI, Anthropic, whatever you've chosen for that like chatbot experience, or that Copilot experience. I would just recommend even if you segment your customers, don't decide for your customers they don't want it.
Yeah, and I think you got one of my other framings. We're at the hour. I got to get us rolling here, but I'll say this: like I've been using it for the last year, and it's so real. It is momentum and not moonshots. We are not taking our customer through moonshot territory. We need to take them through momentum territory. Marcial, thank you for saying I pulled it through. It's always good to see you on the show. Leslie had a question. Where would you find trustworthy partnerships, let's say? I actually have a very ending segment that might align here. Alex, the last segment of my show is the shameless plug.
You know I didn't come here for that, right?
Tell us what you do, where to get hold of you, why they should get hold of you, and all the things. We got like a minute though. We got to keep it rolling.
Okay. I'll just say this. I have a lot of conviction that the AI world is going to shake out a lot like the cyber world did. Back when we were told, this is my elevator pitch on this. We were told from stages, everyone has to go be an MSSP. Y'all remember that? And then some founders and smart people went home and they spent a lot of money building out a 24/7 team or an 8x5 plus everybody on the weekend, whatever you did. And you invested money, you bought Logarithm and Splunk. Remember those guys that were all at the conferences selling to you? And by the way, I just walked the floors at recent events. They're nowhere to be found. I don't know where they are. They're gone. And now we have strategic partners. I'm not going to name them, but let's just say we understand who they are, that can come in and do the advanced stuff for our customers, that can come fill the 24/7 SIM SOC, the advanced compliance programming, pen testing. And we've chosen not to hire and keep around expensive cyber people for the percentage of our customers that need it. I think that's going to be what shakes out. And if you're an MSP owner or founder and you kind of think like that, and you're like, hey, I need to do this for 80% of my customers, but maybe 20% I need to partner on for the really advanced stuff, and maybe I don't want to hire AI engineering talent, then I'd love to hear from you, because that's the world I'm thinking about right now, is how do you really help MSPs and help this industry? And that's where my head's at.
I love it. Alex, it's been a wonderful show. Marcial, Leslie, great to hear from you. Super excited to have everybody on the show. This recap's going to be amazing. It's been good, man. Thanks for jumping on. We're a little over. Sorry to run you over time.
No problem, man.
I'll see everybody. Have a wonderful time, and we'll get the write-up out tomorrow with all the tactical takeaways.
Cheers. Happy day, everyone.
Cheers.